I still remember my first lesson in marketing is position, where you want to position your brand. I can say I charge people a bit more than other brands, but I believe I provide much better service.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of the Design Exchange podcast. I'm your host, Thomas Grové, and with me today is Leo.
Hello.
Leo, I don't know if I actually know your last name, your family name.
My family name is Huynh.
Huynh, Huynh.
Huynh, yeah.
Okay, great.
Like, I put my name as Leo Huynh Chin because for Vietnamese people, they would call me Chin, but for Westerner, they would call me Leo. So I put my family name in the middle. It's some kind of playing tricks, for
It's like
the culture.
wordplay, or
kind of.
just to clarify which you prefer going by.
I prefer people call me Leo, to be honest, because I've been using this name for the last 8 years, and I chose this name because I think it suits me more. It suits my personality.
It seems to me like an artist name, like Prince, or it's like, that's just Leo. I've known you for, I don't know, 6 years maybe, or
More than that.
something like that, and you've always just been Leo. To the point where I had to ask for your family name today.
Well, it's all right. There's only one Leo, right?
Do you have a different family name now?
No.
Okay, you're very modern.
Well, the thing is, my husband is Spanish, and in the Spanish culture, when you get married, you don't have to change your last name.
That's a Spanish thing, specifically?
Well, I think.
Spanish culture, people have sometimes like 10 names or...
Well, in their names, they have two last names. They don't have middle names. Like Ruben, his name is Ruben Martinez Lopez. And Martinez is a main last name from his dad. And Lopez is a last name from his mom. But if you ask him what is your last name, then it would be Martinez, which is in the middle, not the last. You know what I mean? They don't have the middle name.
Right.
They have two last names.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But he goes by his first last name and not his second last name.
That's the rule.
Yeah,
because you always go with the name, the last name from the father.
Okay.
But now in the Spanish law, you can swap. You can choose. For example, if we have a kid, and we can name our kid with my last name first, and then his last name after, just to make it easier.
Right.
Because when he got to the US, and he always have trouble like filling the form, and when they see his passport, oh, this is your middle name. No, that's my last name. I don't have middle name, but like to the Western, like in general to the American culture, there's no such a thing like two last names. It's weird. So in the future, if we want to have kid, we want to make it easier for the kid, then we're gonna put my last name first, and then the Martinez, his last name after. Just make it easier.
We went right into this without... I've been normally giving a bit of an introduction to the guests at the beginning of each episode, and we just went right into like kind of a side tangent. That's okay. I just want to circle back and mention that Leo's been running her own fashion brand called Sinhtolina.
Yes.
For how long now?
For almost 5 years, I think. I started this in April 2014 with the intention of just doing it for fun, like one design. I make only one item. If nobody buys it, then I wear it. That's all. And I didn't really want to make it as a big brand. And at that time, I wanted to do it just to help me pay my tuition fee for interior design. That's all. But after 2 years, I got a lot of good feedback from my friends, from customers. So in 2016, I registered as a business. And since then, I just keep going.
What I like about the story of Sinhtolina is that it's in many ways the opposite of what I tried to do with Seifu.
Yeah.
And
What did you try to do with Seifu?
I tried to launch big, but just for the context, like you mostly know Seifu as like my motorcycle jackets and stuff. And the plan was to get some customer feedback. Like actually your husband is one of our only early adopters for the jackets.
We still have that jacket at home.
And where the original plan was, okay, we're going to get some feedback from some initial adopters, make some adjustments to the design, and then do a big marketing push and kind of try to launch big, in a way, like kind of mass producing the jackets. When we switched to work on this bag for the Nintendo Switch, which I call the Switch bag, kind of put everything else on hold for a year and a half. And at this point, haven't gone back to it. And I guess what I want to say is like, whereas I feel that you've taken a step-by-step approach and grown organically.
Yes. Well, to be honest, I started Sinhtolina with zero capital. Like I didn't have like, a lot of money to put in. So I would say that's the reason why I take small steps and to see the feedback from people if they like it or not. And I learned actually like during the first 2 years, I learned a lot about woman body type. Yeah, that is something very interesting because I always make clothes for myself, right? And I only sell what I can wear. But then through time, I understand the woman figures, we are so different. Like from Asian culture to the Western culture, we're all different. So I have to adapt it. I have to make it more available to other people, not just only for myself anymore. And of course, like at the beginning, only one design, one item, and then slowly 5 items. And then now I have to do sizes. Like let's say 10S, 10M, and 10L, because now I understand more of my market. I understand more of my customer behavior or customer body type, something like that. So I stand a little bit step by step.
I think
It's safer. That's how I feel.
Luckily, many of your items don't really have sleeves. Right?
I don't like sleeves.
Yeah.
That's the reason why I don't really make dresses with sleeves. But I do kimono. So kimono, they have sleeve, but it's a very different tie-up clothing design.
Yeah, and it's loose.
Loose,
fitting,
yeah,
so
loose fitting, so easy.
I was trying to do form-fitting stuff with sleeves, and so I'd find everybody's body type was so different. Whereas maybe somebody had a small shoulder size but a large stomach size.
Yes.
Or they had long torso and arms, which could be considered large, but they were very skinny. So the length would be, their chest size would be appropriate for a medium or small jacket, but their arms and torso length were more appropriate for a large or extra large. And that became like a big question mark for me that like kind of stopped me progressing that product line in many ways, because like whose body do I make it for? And it didn't really seem feasible. It wasn't really scalable to tailor make everybody's jacket.
It's not easy because, well, you are also in this business. Like each size, you have to make a pattern, and it's very difficult if every single time you have to make like 10 for one design. So that's why in my design, I like the loose fitting, and I try to do something that adjustable, like for, let's say, a skinny girl would look good, but also maybe not so skinny girl could also fit, something like that. And my principle is easier to tighten and shorten than extend. So I always do a bit loose and longer than necessary, because we're all different. Sometimes you can meet, like you can have some very skinny girl but very tall, or sometimes it's the opposite. So I'm trying to minimize the work as much as possible.
I also found it maybe a little bit more challenging being in Saigon, kind of in the circles that we run in, which is, let's say, half foreigner and half Vietnamese. Like if I was only targeting a American body type, I might be able to abstract my idea of sizing a little bit easier, but like Vietnamese sizing and Western sizing is not necessarily compatible or the same system. Like a large in Vietnam is like I forget now, but it's like what would be considered a large in Vietnam might be considered a medium or a medium in America, for instance.
Yeah, correct.
And then of course like different torso ratios and stuff. So I'm not really going anywhere with that other than just to say like your audience, I assume is.
I have half now. Like 50% the audience, they are Westerners, and the other 50 is Vietnamese. Like more and more Vietnamese people, they like my brand now because it's quite different from the general market here. The general market here, people like to have the very form-fitting, or sometimes it's more into the Korean style, like the cute style. Like why my design is more feminine, like it's not girly but it's feminine. It's like it make you feel you are a woman. Like I'm not trying to make you feel as a girl, but I'm trying to make you feel as a woman, and as a woman you should be confident with whatever body type you have. And I'm very lucky because my partner, she's from Spain, and so I have a model, which is represent the Western body type. And me, I represent the Asian. So that's why based on my size and her size, we make our own sizes. And then we make one more in between for the middle.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's how we cover everyone. Yeah.
I think it could be interesting to talk about an idea of femininity. This might not, I haven't gone out partying in many years now, but I had a friend actually from Spain also. I don't know why today ended up being a Spanish episode. I don't know why this has happened, but he was like an artist, I would say, and we were going out one evening, and we went to what was at the time, what was that? There was like a bar at the corner of
which one?
La Solier.
La Fenecelle.
There you go.
The corner of Lee Chong and Pasteur.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we went there for an event, and the crowd was very English teacher-y, and I'm like really hesitant to tell this story because I'm trying to figure out the angle where I don't look judgmental, but I'm very judgmental. Like, as a designer, I like to make judgments. Like I think this is aesthetically nice and aesthetically not nice.
Let's call it opinions.
Right. So I have opinions that may not play well amongst some of my friends. I'm not sure. So I'm a little nervous, but let's go ahead. Let's just do this. So a decidedly English teacher, female crowd at that event. And then after that, we went to Lush. And then we were like, finally, like an event where women look like women and not.
I think I know what you mean. Okay.
Like there's this thing that's happened in America, maybe England, maybe Australia, but certainly parts of America where what in some era could be considered a feminine aesthetic has been replaced by a fairly what you might call masculine aesthetic, or kind of a sloppy aesthetic. Frumpy could be another word. Even in Japan these days, I find that most women are wearing comfortable brown clothing. It's very earthy, very organic, but not feminine in several ways. Now, the type of femininity that I think your brand is making is towards the elegant side.
Yes.
Whereas the traditional Vietnamese going out to party cocktail dress is way more towards a, as you were saying, form-fitting.
I would say, in my opinion, it depends on the certain age of the group of women, right? Because when I was much younger, I used to have form-fitting dresses because, of course, I want to show off a lot of things, my bodies, my legs. I feel very sexy. I think I'm still sexy, but like at the different period of time, we would feel attract to different style of fashion in a different way. Depends on our maturity, I would say. Maybe age is a number, but maybe the maturity and maybe our lifestyle at that time, something like that.
Could have something to do with economies as well, because
Yeah.
Vietnam is in a bit of a bubble, has been in a bubble for the last 10 years. And Japanese bubble economy, women dressed similar to how women have been dressing at nightclubs in Vietnam during the last 10 years.
Okay.
But now that the economy slowed down, everybody's wearing austere fashion, not form-fitting, not colorful. Whereas here it's form-fitting, it's flowery, floral prints and form-fitting. I mean, there are bright colors, flashy, showing off.
But the thing is, I've been observing like the style of. Are you familiar with the resort design? Like clothes for the resort, and most of the clothes for a resort is very loose, very, like earthy. So sometimes people argue that for people who has a lot of, like economy, who has more money, who always go to have holidays in resort, they don't like form-fitting clothes, but they like more loose one.
You might be wearing that loose clothing on top of your bikini, though, too.
Yes.
Like a cover up or what I don't know. I don't know the terms.
A cover up. Yeah, you could say cover up. Yeah, when you go to the beach, but also like when you just like in the evening, you don't go to the beach anymore, but you can just like put on a very simple but elegant dress to go have a nice romantic dinner in a resort with your loved ones, something like that. And people, if you are in a resort trying to relax, of course they're not gonna try to put on any form-fitting dress. They don't want to impress that person that much anymore. It's a different occasion already,
As a man, I do the same thing.
Okay.
Part of it, I think, is driven by practicality, though. Oftentimes when you go to a resort, the weather is warm, right? You don't go to a cold beach resort, right? You go to a hot beach resort, I think.
Absolutely.
And if it's hot, of course, you have the risk of humidity and sweating. So you want something that's going to maybe be long to keep off mosquitoes.
Yeah.
But be loose enough that it's not going to stick to your skin, not going to constrict your movements.
Well, at this point, I would say it's more about the material, right? Also, the form, the style of the design of the dress also is a material. Like you said, it's going to be hot. So the material should be organic, should be something like cotton, something breathable, linen.
Yeah.
But what about you? What is your, what would you prefer? A form-fitting dress on a woman or a loose one? Oh, also depends on the occasions. As a man, what do you want to see?
I think it's
maybe you care more about the silhouette. Maybe like it's loose enough, but it's still like a review. the silhouette of the woman, of the
I
body.
guess the thing that's the most important is posture. For anybody out there who might be wondering about how they present themselves, like attitude and posture are more attractive than how fat you are or how skinny you are or how tall you are. The way you move, the way that if you're comfortable with who you are and not slouched over, not trying to hide, but confident. Confidence is sexy,
Yes.
right? So as long as now, and I should say, like from the reverse perspective, I oftentimes look horrible in whatever I'm choosing to wear because like I don't put a lot of thought into it often. And it's only through like the critique of my girlfriend or whatever that I'm like, oh, I guess I should wear more like this and less like that.
But I think whatever you wear should make you feel comfortable, right?
Yeah. But like I feel comfortable in fat pants, PHAT.
Okay.
But the trend, at least, I don't know what the trend is this year, but the trend for like the last 10 years was skinny jeans, right? But I like these raver pants that are like, not bell bottoms, but we called them fat pants back in the day. And I made a pair a few years back and I wore them around and everybody thought I was ridiculous. But those were dope back in 1999.
I think you're not alone. There's a lot of people, like for example, Ruben, he never likes the skinny pants. And I have a lot of friends, they also like, why men nowadays, they always have to wear skinny pants. It's ridiculous. Like they don't have the other options anymore. So you're not alone.
But
Don't
as a
worry.
girl, do you want a man to wear skinny pants so you can see his buttocks more clearly?
I don't think so.
No?
No. No. No, I don't think so. I mean, I don't have anything against it, but I would like to see, a man's wearing whatever he's comfortable, whatever the fashion style that he likes. But skinny to the point that too tight and show off your, whatever. And I don't think that's sexy.
Okay.
Nah. But that's my opinion.
Right. What do you guys think? Leave a comment down below and maybe we'll reply.
Let's see. Let's let us know.
I know some of your background, your design background, but we haven't shared it yet with our listeners or our viewers. You were studying interior design.
Yes.
I mean, I remember and you were studying it for a long period of time also.
I studied interior design for 3 years, but it was my second degree. My first degree was in business.
Oh.
So I studied business administration, and I studied for 8 years because in Vietnam we have different system. So I started with the associate degree, and then from that I upgraded to bachelor degree, and it took me a long time, like almost 8 years to finish everything. Because I was studying and working at the same time. So instead of taking 6 or 7 classes per term, like my friends, I took only half. So I could work, and by the time I graduate, I only have experience working for a few years. So I could just like jump in the job I wanted right away. But after a while, I feel I don't like that much because I used to work for corporate, like big companies, and very often I have to put on a, fake smile for networking events, and like you only try to get people, name cards, and then you go back to your office and send them emails, and I get tired of that. And somehow I just, by chance, I changed my mind and I wanted to try for design. And I studied drawing for 2 years. I wanted to study fine art, and I wanted to go to where was it? Holland, but I failed. I couldn't get my my admission there. I couldn't get my visa. And then I attempted the second time to go to Canada and for interior design, not fashion. I didn't even think about fashion at all. And I got accepted to the school, but I didn't get a visa. And right after that, I found a school here, and I got a scholarship for 50%. So I started and I studied for 3 years. And during the first 2 years, at the same time, I was doing this. I was doing Sinhtolina, and it helped me pay the tuition fee. And by the time I did my internship for interior design, I was working for 2 months, a bit more than 2 months, and I realized it's not my thing. Like I still got more passion into like fabric, and like from the fabric I create a shape, based on whatever material I have. And I like talking directly to people, more like hands-on on the material, on fabric, more than like a brick or like wood. I love wood. I still love interior design, furniture design, but it's not my thing. So I just I finished. I graduated, but I chose to continue with my own company.
There's so many things I want to ask you as a follow-up to this. Okay, first, I would say that one of my biggest weaknesses is I don't have any kind of business administration background. And I feel that that's like a weakness within my organization or within myself in doing businesses. Because I'm so interested in the problem solving, creativity part of it, but I oftentimes neglect the more administrative elements. So how has having that background made your situation with your own business better?
I would say having the background in business helps a lot in, let's say, organization in general, right? Like, for example, how to deal with fabric seller, how to negotiate internal prices, how to negotiate with tailor prices, a lot of things. And I see a big picture, and then I go into detail. Why a lot of designer, without having the business background, they tend to go, like you said, like more into the detail of the creativity, solving problem. But they cannot see the whole picture, how the whole system should work. So for me, the advantage for me is I see that. And I've been working in business for 8 years before going into fashion. And also I run bars, I run organization, I work with people. My strong, like in business, I study focusing on customer service. So I understand the customer behavior. I understand human behavior in general. Not all, but it helps me a lot in this business. Like everything, I would say. Yeah. In terms of like scheduling, okay, how let's say for knit batch, how long is it gonna take to finish, let's say 10 dresses? And when are we going to do the photo shoot? When are we going to launch? What is the posting schedule? How are we going to launch the marketing? And because of having the background, the knowledge of everything, it helps a lot in this business. Because retail business is not easy. And if I just sit here and draw and I don't know how to sell, then I cannot make money, right?
Yeah. What have you found to be the most successful strategies for sales for your business?
The most successful one is I work with concept stores where, like before I used to work with Cocois, Luzine, where they have a lot of tourists. They have a lot of people visiting every day. And just by having a corner there, people just walking by, passing by, and they see my brand. And once they like it, they will look for it. And also with the help of social media nowadays, Instagram, Facebook, I have influencer contacting me. Hey, I come across Instagram and I saw your brand. I'm going to visit Ho Chi Minh next week or something. Can we do some collaboration? And that's also a very successful aspect for the business because people get to know you more because you diverse, like the content, a lot of things.
I'm going to ask this. I hope you don't mind. And then, you can only answer what you feel comfortable answering in regards. But so if an influencer contacts you, do the deals, do you have to pay them cash? Do you get a free dress? Or you just promote their channel and they promote your channel? What's the kind of relationships?
I would say depends on the influencers. Some influencers, we exchange, like I give them my design and they travel everywhere. They take photos and when they post their photo, they will tag my design in it, my brand in it. Some influencers, they come, they're happy to pay, to buy, to have their own. And then they will take also a picture and they tag my brand. So it really depends. But I don't really give them cash.
Yeah.
Actually, none of them have ever asked for cash. What they really want is just to have nice clothes. And they also want to help, the local designer like me to put out the word and, stretch, like bring our brand to more international world, something like that. So it's a mutual benefits. And I would say it's quite genuine because some people contacted me, but it's really, like depends how you feel. What is your feeling toward that person? Sometimes you can say yes, sometimes you say no. You know what I mean? If that person is from a friend introducing you, maybe you feel more comfortable or something like that. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But so far for me, it's working well. Thuy My?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Thuy My, she's been helping me promoting Sinhtolina a lot. And the thing like she got the opportunity to go travel everywhere, which I don't. So I really appreciate that she thinks of me. And she got some pieces and she go take photo everywhere for me.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Back when I was organizing the design exchange series of events, she was actually my roommate for a while, like not
really
housemate, I should say. And she was like also very kind of supportive. Like,
yeah, she's incredible. I really like it. And the thing like she bought one dress for me from Cocois long time ago. And then she went to Dubai. She tagged me in the picture. And like she looks amazing, And, at that time, she was just helping me. And then last year she came back. And then she messaged me. Hey, Leo, I'm coming back. And I love your brand. I would love to help to support you more. So we meet up. I gave her a few pieces. And she looked great.
That's great.
Yeah.
Hi, Thuy My.
Hi, Thuy My.
Okay, the other question I was going to ask was, what parallels or similarities or even differences do you find between your formal training in interior design and your current practice of fashion design? Where's the crossover? And
it's an interesting question. Let me think how should I put it. So for interior design in practice, we work with existing material, right? And let's say you want to make a table, and you can use either wood, you can use plastic. You have many different type of material, and then based on that, you will create a shape. You create model, prototype, whatever. So I apply that principle to fashion. Most of fashion designer by train, they would create sketches first, and then they will try to print the material. I do the opposite. I find a material and based on the material, based on the color, based on the feeling, the characteristic of that material, I will decide what kind of shape or what kind of form I want for that material. So this is what I apply from interior design to fashion design.
When I first started working on my fashion designs, I was researching because my background was video game design. So I was coming at this as quite the outsider, and I had to do a lot of research. And one of the things I read early on was when I was researching materials. I don't even know where this was. It could have been Keora, for all I know. But the person wrote, if you have a clear idea in your mind of what fabric you need for this design, like you make the design first, and then you go try to find the fabric to match the design, you're asking yourself for a world of pain.
Yes.
It's going to be way, way better for you to go out and find the fabric you like and then design around that fabric.
Exactly.
And I found that to definitely be true myself as well.
So yeah, I feel this is what I do because I feel more practical and more comfortable in that way. And now to a certain point that now I know what kind of material I like and what kind of material I would go for this shape, But when you print your own material, it requires a lot of, capital. And, you have to design, you have to do a lot of large quantity. And because normally they don't really do small quantity. And sometimes you just want to run a test. And I feel at the moment, I'm not comfortable with that yet. But maybe in the future, I would go for the unique pattern printing for our own brand, something like that. But right now, I'm still doing the other way, which I feel more comfortable with. And I have, I'm quite lucky because I have fabric sellers. I have my resources that they know what I like. So whenever they have something new, then they just take picture, they send it to me. If I like it, I'll go and have a look. Or sometime I just, just through photo, I know that I want to make it, I want to take it, and I just tell them, okay, keep it for me. They will keep it for me. So I'm lucky in this sense. Yeah.
One thing I wanted to ask you was, what's it like being in a creative couple? Does that make sense? When I ask that, and let me give the audience some background because Leo's husband, who for many years was her boyfriend before becoming her husband, he has a background in creative visuals.
Yeah, he studied 3D design, so he was a 3D artist, graphic design and 3D artist.
And then at some point, while in Vietnam, started a design agency or advertising agency kind of thing. Yep. Astro Pig, then later Astro Saigon.
Yeah.
And then also started a beer brand, a craft beer brand, which is lovely.
I don't have.
And in the previous interview with Vuitton, which will be the episode just before this one, we drank a couple of Tay beers just to kind of loosen things up. So yeah, we have a
logo
sticker, a well-used sticker here. I don't know if we can zoom in on that or not, but sometimes opposites attract. But you're both very creative individuals, so my sister's an actress and her husband's an actor. And everybody was like, that's a mistake. Now you're both going to be out of work or whatever.
Well, the thing is, yes, we are both in creative field, but very different, he's more in the visual, in the graphic design, and it's more computer work. And my creative field is more hands-on, more in material, like fashion. And Ruben doesn't have any idea about fashion. Like I have a little bit of idea about graphic design, And the thing, Ruben helps me a lot because during my study time in interior design, we also have to do presentation, right? And he's the one who helped me. Okay, this layout, this, how you go into present, and he helped me a lot with the graphic design. And he also helped me in, let's say, giving me opinion how to combine, let's say, this material, this color with this color. I often ask him, okay, what do you think about this and this? Something like that. So we occasionally we change idea. And he helped me a lot with hanging the fabric. I used to wash the fabric at home.
Oh, yeah.
So he helped me hanging them. Well, not
Do you
anymore.
pre-wash the fabric before cut and sew?
Depends on the material, yes. Because some material, if you don't wash it first, when you make a dress, it will shrink. When you wash it, it will shrink.
Yeah, I definitely found that was another headache that I came across in like the production, going from like, okay, here's a prototype of a pair of jeans that I like to, okay, how are we going to mass produce this? Is like, if we're going to, the denim we happen to choose shrank quite a bit in the wash. And I would say a lot more than what the factory reported, like that it shrinks. And it was the kind of thing is, how many times do you want to wash it? Because each subsequent wash, it would shrink like another 15% or something.
Really?
Yeah. Up to some number, like maybe after 3 washes, it's kind of logarithmic. It stops shrinks 13 or 20% for the first wash, another 15% for the second, maybe 10 or 8 for the third. And then after that, the other thing though is like after wearing it, it stretches back out. Like if but I'm quite off topic here, but it's like, okay, so if it shrinks this much within in from left to right, or like with the weft, there's I'm forgetting all the terms, but you have like the.
But normally, if it's shrink from left to right, that means you're doing wrong, because normally it's shrink up.
I guess it depends on like some fabrics are woven one way and some are woven the other way.
Exactly, but when you sew, you have to choose the size.
Right.
So to make sure when it shrink up, it doesn't shrink in. You know what I mean?
Yeah. At the same time, this is like was a stretchy denim, and you definitely want it to be stretchy in the ways that your leg is fat.
Yes.
You want it to be stretchy in the width wise. So whatever way that was, but I measured it both directions. Like, okay, it shrinks 8% like in the vertical and 15% in the horizontal or whatever, and then try to reverse engineer all of our measurements so that, because if we were going to make, like, the easy way is to pre-wash the material before you cut and sew it, so it's already shrunk, and then the garment's basically going to be the shape
More
that it
or less
is.
the shape, yeah.
But if we're going to go into a mass production, it's not really. That's not really.
It's not ideal.
Yeah, like they just want to take it straight off the roll and cut it.
Of course, but then in this case, I mean, if you ever do it again, I would advise. Okay, you make a prototype, and normally what I would do, I make prototype 2 different sizes to see, and then you test it, you wear it, you wash it a few times, and then you will go into mass production. And at that time, you know how many percent that the production will shrink, and then you will readjust on the pattern. That's the only way.
The other part that was, I think, not necessarily immediately obvious was areas like the belt line which are like heavily reinforced and have lots of stitching. As I recall, they shrank a lot less than other areas which have less stitches. Like the areas with more stitches tended to keep whatever size they were. And then, so like the waist wouldn't necessarily shrink and expand a lot, but the thighs would because there was like less stitching in the thighs, for instance.
Interesting. Well, maybe I should not go to pants production.
Fashion is this thing where I found the process of working with. We had an in-house seamstress, and just having ideas and then producing them into prototype garments, I found to be extremely satisfying. But going the steps to go from that to mass production, I found to be
disappointing,
unenjoyable in several ways.
Okay.
Yeah. Like just figuring out all the maths for each of the measurements. Like, okay, we have to take the shrinkage into account. Like, I try to come up with my own systems. I'm like, okay, well, let's measure the jeans and we'll do the math and we'll find out the percentages. But somehow I found the results weren't as repeatable as I wanted. Like this time it shrank 10%, but last time the last time we did this with the same material, it shrank a different amount. And like, why is it different? Like, did we use the same temperature water? Like there's a lot of variables. I guess I could say like, for the average consumer out there, or someone who's even just doing maybe tailor-made stuff and hasn't like started thinking about mass production, there's just a whole slew of technical hurdles that you have to overcome. And
so what you're saying that, okay, the design process from designing, making the first prototype is what was the
enjoyable.
It's
very enjoyable.
Very enjoyable. But then from the mass production
is
there's
just
always
like
an obstacle.
Pain waiting to happen.
Yes.
Unless everything goes perfect.
I would say 9 out of 10 is not perfect. If you're lucky, maybe halfway. But to me, even I've been doing this for years. But even, let's say one design, the first batch we make, okay, let's say it's perfect. The second time we remake it, it's not perfect. And, like there's a lot of things. It could be at that time, the person in charge who cut in the fabric, maybe she made a mistake. And then, the tailor who put everything together, not the same person anymore. So when you receive the final production, it's not the same what you have sent. Even sometimes you send, okay, this is a prototype. Please just make exactly like this. But when you receive it, it's not the same. It's always the case.
How do you personally deal with those situations? So
here we have to do quality control for every single product. So when we receive back from our tailors, we will base on the prototype we have, and we will most of the time we will check everything. We measure and we take to see if it's the same or not. And if it's not okay, we will have to fix it. We have to send back. Of course, it is a very frustrating and wasting time a little bit, I would say, but I have to fix it.
Are there cases where the item can't just be altered to fix it? Like it'd have to just be recut from the beginning, but you ran out of the fabric?
I think I had that situation before. What did I do? I think we just keep selling it, but like at that time it's already like a different design. It's not like the original anymore, but we have to be flexible, I would say. I think so that time we make a prototype with my size, and then whatever I receive back is way too small that I cannot even wear it. But we cannot extend it, and we don't have any more fabric to remake them. So I just have to
start a children's line.
Put it out there, and hopefully, like people are very small that they can buy it. But still, yeah, that one a bit difficult. Anyway, but it's happened all the time. Like the final production, the thing is, we still use human labor. We don't use machine. Like Sarah, I heard that they use everything by machine, not by human. But it's a different story. But here, when it comes to a human factor, one design, let's say even one tailor, you ask her to do 10 dresses for one design, one size. there's a chance 2 out of 10 will be different. So that's maybe while working she was sleeping, or maybe there's many, reason why it happened that way. So sometimes you just have to deal with it. Sometimes you just have to accept it. Like, especially in Vietnam, nothing is perfect, right? You've been here a long time and you know how it works.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's very frustrating, but sometimes you have to accept it. And then sometimes you have to really, really, really go difficult on the tailor. Like, no, this is not what I want. And they have to fix it for you. Because sometimes the tailor just, oh, no, but it's okay. I think it's fine. And, please just take it. Like, no. Sometimes you have to be like very strict. Like, this is not up to my standard. Please redo it. This.
Yeah.
So
it's, those situations are always like a balancing act, because oftentimes, let's say tailor. Sometimes the tailors are working on tight margins.
yeah.
So if they have to redo something, or if even factories, they're working on kind of tight margins. So if they have to redo something, it basically means they lose money, right?
Yes.
And then, it really comes down to the problem like I really had with when we went into mass production on our bags was they were very hesitant to stop the line. Like, if we noticed that there's a problem, I kind of subscribe to the Toyota production methodology, which is like, you should stop the line. If something's broken, stop everything, figure out how to fix it, and then start the production line again. Because it's cheaper to fix it now than to fix it later. Because if later you might have to just throw the whole thing away and start over. But we found, in our case, we found them very reluctant to do that. We stopped the line. I stopped the line anyways. Then they like threatened to kick me out of the factory. They're like, no client's ever done this before, and I was definitely stepping on toes in terms of like the old guy who has been a veteran of this industry for 25 years, and
But what was
has his
the
pride.
quantity you were making before?
Like 2,000.
Woo, 2,000.
Yeah. So you don't want to have
That's a
2,000
lot.
messed up somethings.
Of course, yeah.
Like, if you can catch it at 100 and stop
I
and
know.
make the changes and then go forward.
Yeah.
So
For us, we are still very small. To be honest, I don't really like the idea of mass production, because I believe we should all wear something different. And my principle, like I told you before, I like something very unique. And now I make it like up to 30 or sometimes 50 pieces. Occasionally, like very rarely, I make something like 100 pieces. Depends. Depends on if I need to send overseas a lot or not. But I wouldn't go up to 500. I don't think so. I think 100 is the standard. I could diversify, maybe one design with different colors, something like that. And I could go up the number a little bit, but I don't think I would ever go into mass production like 1,000 or 2,000 pieces. Like, this is where you are going to lose control.
For sure.
And it's a headache.
There's a bit of a tension between consumers wanting to be more eco-conscious, fair trade labor conscious, these kind of trends, ethical fashion, I guess you would call it, and cost of goods and profit margins. Like, as a young fashion brand, I think a lot of young fashion brands out there, they're always looking for low MOQs. And they're
What is low MOQ?
Minimum order quantities, right? It's like you go to a place that makes stuff and it's like, I want to make something. I have an idea. I want to make something. What are your MOQs? And then they'll say something like 5,000. And you go, well, I want to make 20, right? And then they're like, please stop wasting our time and go away. And so But when you do things at those kinds of scales, you are going to have waste. You are going to have all the things that people say they're concerned about get introduced when you have this kind of mass production. And but the flip side is when you only make 20 of something, you have to charge more money for it. It has to be more expensive. You don't get the same economies of scale that you get when you make 1,000 of something or 20,000 of a something.
But that's where you have to make your own decision, right? Like, I still remember my first lessons in marketing is position. Where you want to position your brand. You want to have like a very low margin in one product, and you earn money in the mass production, or you make money on one product. So, and what I do is to make money in one product, because I believe with the smaller quantity, I can control on the quality of the product better. Mm-hmm. I can provide better customer service. I follow through with all of my customers and with all the store to see what is the feedback, something like that. And I can say I charge people a bit more than other brands, but I believe I provide much better service. So this is where my marketing or branding strategy come from. So with the same, let's say with the same design, if the other brand charge maybe 800, I would charge for 1 million. But like the gap, the 200 is for my service. And I believe I provide the best customer service. This is where I'm confident to say.
That's fantastic.
I couldn't handle the office life, like this is my own office. So I have my own schedule. It's a different story. But like back to the interior design internship, I had to go there every day at 9 a.m., sometime earlier, and finish like 6, 7. I don't like that. I don't like to be in one place,
It's weird because it's presumably a creative job, but they're creating factory worker conditions. Yeah. This is the same as like video game industry also in most cases, where you're supposed to be creative, but then you're oftentimes required to work overtime.
But how are you going to create if you just sit in one place? Like for me, my inspiration is everywhere. Like sometimes I get bored, I just go to the fabric market. I go look around, I see what's available. And sometimes I just randomly walk around to see things, to see building, to see, or just chat with my friends. Like sometimes just random, conversations. Or actually my inspiration come from working in a bar, because I work at Broma. So Broma is like a catwalk for me, right? So, whenever I'm there, I walk around, people ask me, where do you get this dress? And then I have the opportunity to observe people. I work there, so I can watch people, without feeling awkward that, oh, I'm watching them. And they feel okay at me watching because I'm doing my job, So I often observe to see how people dress up in the evening, how they go out, and what do they want, like the girls, when they go out, they like to be, sexy, elegant, comfort, a lot of things. And I get to talk to them, go, like get inside their head a little bit. So this is my, I would say my main inspiration, by just talking to people.
Yeah, Broma.
I'm still there.
Broma, not a bar, the formal name.
Yeah.
But it's totally a bar.
It is a rooftop bar.
But the name is Broma, not a bar.
Do you know why?
No, I don't.
You don't, really? Because Broma means a joke in Spanish.
Okay.
Back to Spanish again.
Spain is just, we can't escape Spain today.
No, I'm sorry. So yeah, Broma means a joke in Spanish. So that's why we want to make fun of the name. Broma, not a bar. Because it's a joke.
Okay. Mm-hmm. I get the joke.
Okay.
I'm not laughing though. The joke's not funny if you have to explain it, right? I was going to ask, is working at a bar like Broma related to our conversation on creativity?
I think it is.
And I think maybe at an arm's distance glance, at an initial glance, you might say, no, how could it be? But you mentioned already quite well how it is, because you use it as an opportunity to observe people. And we're designing for people.
Exactly.
Right.
And also, it's a place for me, like I mentioned, Broma is my catwalk. So when I'm there, I often walk around because I have to check on things, and even not just only girls, even men, like they give me compliments. Like, I like what you're wearing. Where'd you get it? I would like to get one for my girlfriend or my wife. Like, okay, here's my card. So, this is also where I do the sale, organically, I would say. Like, I don't go to each table to say, hey, I have my own fashion brand. I will only tell them when they say, hey, I like this. Where'd you get it? And then I will have the opportunity to introduce to them about my brand.
These days, if someone was to just bump into you and say, where can I get a Sinhtolina dress, what would you tell them?
Hello.
To come to this showroom? Is that where the best place, or can they buy it online? Or
I often send them to my main office here, because here I have all of the designs, and also I have the opportunity to consult them, like talk to them and help them, like suggest what they need. If they are not available to be like to come here, I could send them to other locations like Mayhem, Saigon, or Nha Trang, or even the Nam Hai Resort. Like, there's a couple of places where they can go. They can also purchase online, but I always encourage them to come here, because again, we all have different body types. Sometimes, like one dress looks good on the models, as always. But when, like you try it on you, maybe I need to adjust some fitting for them, like the back, the length, a little bit. So I would prefer them to come here so I can see and I can help them.
when you do an adjustment, do you do it on the spot, or do you send it to like a tailor to get finalized?
It depends on what kind of alteration. For example, if I just need to shorten it, like bring the length up, then we can do it here on the spot. Like some simple things, we can fix it right away. For maybe more complicated, like make it tighter or more, let's say more complicated work, then I would send back to my tailor. I have fixing tailor, and I have making like full, like putting everything together tailor, like different type of tailors. So depends, but we always try to sort it out, and it's free of charge for the customer. That's why I provide the best service.
If our listeners or viewers would like to learn more about Sinhtolina, where can they look online?
I would say Instagram and Facebook. Sinhtolina, like at Sinhtolina on Instagram. Currently, we're working on a website because we recently we have a lot of demands from customer overseas, internationally. And I'm building a website to help them. They can just, look online with all of our products. They can pay through PayPal, for example. Yeah.
And Sinhtolina is spelled Sinhtolina. Sinhtolina.
Do you know the meaning of it?
Please tell me.
So Sinhtolina is a combination of Vietnamese and Spanish. I'm sorry.
No more Spain. Okay. All right.
Okay, so my high school friends, they always call me Sinto because my Vietnamese name is Do Chin, and they play with it, and they always call me Sinto.
Like a smoothie?
Yes, like a smoothie in Vietnamese.
Okay.
And so one day I told this story to my husband, Ruben, and he's Spanish, right? So he started calling me Sinto, and he just add the word Lina, like Sinhtolina, in Spanish mean like a little smoothie. like to make it cute, like a little smoothie. And I really like the sound of it. Like Sinhtolina, it's nice. It's very smooth. And I told him like, okay, then I take that name for my brand. And he thought I was joking, but I didn't. I wasn't.
I think names that seem like they might be a joke at first, but then just going all in on them are fantastic.
Sinhtolina.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially if they happen to be Spanish names.
I know. And actually, my husband, who was the one who helped me design the logo.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I will put it up there. At some point, we can just show it across our faces.
Okay.
Leah, thank you for taking time to meet with us today.
Well, thank you for inviting me. It's my honor, my pleasure.
Really enjoyed hearing your perspectives on these topics. I think maybe you're the first fashion designer that we've gotten to talk to here. We had one other episode where we talked to a bag designer. That's a little bit, I think quite a different approach and a different thing. So this has been a great perspective to hear.
Thank you.
Again, if you'd like to learn more about Sinhtolina, you can find them at Sinhtolina on Instagram.
Yes.
That's Sinhtolina, and there will be links in the show description and in the episode description below.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys. And
Thank you.
See you next time. Please feel free to like and subscribe if you want to hear more of this type of content.
Thank you, Thomas. Good handshake.
Firm handshake there.
Well, that's went well. Thank you very much.